Draper City Talk is a podcast produced by the municipal government of Draper City, Utah, where we discuss local government services and issues and the community at large. Good morning, Draper City. Mayor Walker back with you, our Draper City Talk podcast. Asia and Alex, thank you for producing it for us today. I have a great guest today, someone that is part of what is probably the single biggest development and change that'll ever happen in Draper City since its inception as a city. And we're talking about the Point. When I say the Point, I mean the point of the mountain, or the former Utah State Prison site. The acronym Point we have a land use authority that's called the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, so POMSLA. These acronyms are just wonderful. And with me I have Mike Ambre, who is our executive director of the Point. Your job, Mike, is to build the Point.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Walker.
I'm glad to have you along. Mike, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your background, your bio, if you will.
Yeah, sure. So I've worked for the state of Utah for 25 years. I worked for the Division of Facilities Construction and Management. What I did is I ran projects. I started 25 years ago. I started on very small projects, anything below $2.5 million. Throughout my career, I've taken on larger and bigger projects. Some notably would be the design and construction of the new state prison in the Northwest Quadrant. And I also did the new North Capitol building as well.
Okay, that's awesome. So Draper citizens know the prison that was here for a good almost 70 years is now gone, save one building, which is the chapel by the wayside. And we could have a whole podcast on that. But other than the chapel, the whole thing has been demolished. And then you worked on building the new one, so you sort of understand prison sites, I guess you could say. But you came from DFCM.
That's correct, yeah.
That's how I usually want to say DCFM, but DFCM.
Right.
To this project, we hired you, the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, the POMSLA board. We hired you to run this project. So you're our day-to-day person who is in charge of getting everything installed, from earth, from storm drain to asphalt to all the public utilities, everything it's going to take to make this place come out of the ground.
That's correct. So approximately 3 years ago, I was still finishing up the new prison, and they reached out and asked if I would manage the engineering of the utilities that are currently being installed now. So I have been a part of this project for approximately 3 years. So I understand the framework plan, I understand the utilities, and I understand, the legislative mandates. And I think that was why POMSLA was interested in hiring me.
Yeah, and you really kind of helped with the demolition too. I mean, at least it seemed like to me when we were at one point we were trying to save a guard tower. You remember this, right?
I do.
A couple of our council members wanted to cut the top off of one of the guard towers and make it take it up to the rodeo grounds and make it the announcer booth. I actually thought it was a cool idea, and so we ended up talking to you, and you got us a tour of a couple of those guard towers. And anyway, the majority of the council didn't agree, and so the guard towers, they are gone. They got cut up into scrap. But I remember working with you on that, and so I know you were kind of involved in getting it demolished, which was no small task.
No, it took a year, right? I was in charge of that project as well. I'm the one that did demolish the old prison, yeah.
So, and that was a big project in itself, like you said, took a good solid year to do. So now you've left really the employee of that state agency, and you've now come to, and you work for the land authority.
I do.
How many? Tell us a bit about your staff. There's you and how many?
There's 3 others. So I've been on almost, I think, just about a year now. And when I was hired, we had 2 employees. We have Don Willie, he's our director over operations, and Nick Dirksen, and he is our director over development. And it was pretty obvious right when I came on that we needed more help. So we did hire an admin assistant Jen Morrill. So, and she's been
that's just recent too, though.
That's very recent, yeah.
For a while, it was you and Don and Nick.
That's correct.
For most of the time. So let's talk about, and that's important too, because the size of this project, you hear all the different acreage sizes. How big is the point? How many acres?
So technically it's 630, but 30 of those acres are on the east side of I-15, really not developable. So there's 600 developable acres.
Okay, 600. I know I've said various numbers as I've talked about it, and so I'm going to stick to 600 now. I know there's at least another 100 that the state sort of owns around the outside edge, right? Like to the north, no?
No.
The U.S.A. spot,
Oh, yeah, the state might own something over there, but that would be U.S.A. That has nothing to do with the land authority.
Just the prison site that is developable by the land authority, 600 acres.
That's correct. So it basically goes from Bangor Highway. To the west would be the rail, right? And then to the south, you have 146 South. There's a few landowners that buffer 146 South and the site. And then I-15.
Okay. All right, that's good. Still, 600 acres is a massive project for three people to be kind of running, right? So now you got four.
Right.
You got Jen, and she's making a big difference. I can already tell with the organization of our meetings and all that kind of stuff. So you've been doing this for 25 years. Describe a little bit for us the Point project and what's different about it. If you were going to say, tell us about this project, maybe your perspective, what's different about it than anything else you've done?
Well, it's considerably different than what I've done in the past. It does have a lot of similarities to that prison. And let me explain. That prison was 180 acres inside the secured perimeter.
When we're talking the old prison?
No, we're talking about the new one that I built.
The new prison. So when you said that prison, you mean the new prison that you were in charge of building?
Correct.
Go ahead.
And so that new state prison is 180 acres inside the secured perimeter. And it has, if you can imagine, it has 4,000-ish beds and everything. It has medical facilities. It has educational programs, food factory, a Jiffy Lube. So it basically is a mini city. And so with that respect, it's similar, right? And we needed to get approximately 7 miles worth of utilities to the site, roads, sewer, water, power.
Yeah, because that site was like out there on a spot that had no
development.
No way to get to it. And it was just a raw piece of ground that was a long way from any improved utilities.
Absolutely. I remember the first time going to the site, I was going through sagebrush and and yeah, we had to build a haul road just to access the site.
Okay. All right, so that was a unique project in and of itself. There's not many of those getting built around the country. I mean, it might be one of the first new prisons in a long time in the country, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
I used to always say no legislature wants to appropriate money to build a new prison. That's just not a priority. But we were lucky in this case because they did. And then so you got on that. So talk about the Point now, the new site and what's different.
So, our legislature and executive branch had this vision of, certainly we needed a new prison. I mean, you took a tour with me.
Yep.
And saw the conditions. It was dilapidated. It needed a lot of improvements to bring it up to current code and so forth, and health standards. So the legislature appropriated funds to go build that project. And then it afforded us an opportunity to really analyze and vision what could this site be. And so they took a long time, and this is before I was ever a part of this, but they did a lot of public outreach, and they did a lot of studying, from traffic studies to density studies to mixed use. What is the best use of this land?
Yeah, you talk about the public outreach and it is a long time that has been in process. And I can tell you, I've been involved in it since the beginning. So I've got this institutional memory of it all. And it seems like to me it's taken entirely too long to get to where we're at now. But there was a whole bunch of public input, a whole bunch of different little quasi-governmental entities, like different little groups or commissions that got formed to look at it. Like I think there were 3 different ones. Ends up now where we're at. And so The 600 acres is owned by the state of Utah.
That's correct.
It's the state's property. It always has been. And so as we're moving forward, we have this project. We're developing in phases. And so right now, we are at phase one. We've let a phase one contract out. We did a whole bid process. You weren't involved in that. I don't think you were with us at that time, were you?
Barely. I was not with you. I went to one of the interviews with the current developer. But if I could go backwards just for 1 second and just say, so, through that outreach, through that study, the legislature made an interesting decision, and that was to retain ownership of the land, right? Right. Which was quite different. I mean, that's kind of controversial, right? I mean, should the state be a developer, essentially? And with proper planning, the state decided we could steer this project to the best economic outturn for its citizens. And so the intent is to do ground leases, and then we would retain ownership of that land forever.
Right. And the concept, at least, and we'll see as it proves out, but the concept was, over time, the state would reap substantial economic benefits that would benefit the entire state of Utah. Because let's not forget, the prison, although it was in Draper, it benefited every county, every city, because there were inmates from every county and every city in that state prison. And that state prison was sitting there in Draper City. It wasn't paying a dime in taxes. It wasn't paying a dime in any kind of economic opportunity for us. But yet Draper housed it. So now the opportunity is for the state to, and it is unique and controversial still even. And I mean, I imagine you could put 5 legislators in a room and get 5 different opinions about it still. But the concept of state ownership, land lease, long-term return to the state of Utah, that was not something that was just flippantly thought of. That was well thought out, well studied, planned, and we moved forward with that as the goal.
Correct.
So folks, if you're wondering why we're doing it this way, it is how leadership in the state legislature, the leadership in the executive branch, the governor's office, wanted to do it, and it was not taken lightly, and it was part of the whole program and planning. So now we're at phase one, and I can tell you the way we got to the phase one developer is we had a bid process that was extensive and well documented, and I was a member of that committee that was part of the group that selected, that interviewed the bidders, and then we presented it to our whole board. But we have a phase one developer. It's their PPP now is their acronym.
TPP.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
TPP.
The Point Partners.
The Point Partners. There's been a couple of different acronyms, but the Point Partners, they're made up of a local actual Draper developer, Wadsworth Development, so Kip Wadsworth's company, Colmena, which is also a Utah developer, and then Lincoln Properties. And so those are the 3 entities that make up TPP, the Point Partners.
That's correct. And so let me expand on that just a little bit. So they were hired to develop 100 acres. What's really different about this development versus others? Other developments usually start on the edges, close to utilities.
Right.
This development's very unique in the manner that it's complete brownfield and has 0 utilities. The utilities that served the old prison were unearthed and thrown out. They were old, 70 years old, as we mentioned. So it doesn't have a water system. It doesn't have any roads leading anywhere, no storm drain system. And so we're planning this city from scratch. And instead of starting on the edges and connecting to some of the maybe existing utilities, we've master planned utilities specifically for this city. And it gave us a unique vision to start in the center, because it's really hard to recruit companies to come build a building in the middle of a dust bowl, right?
Right.
And so what we decided to do is to build the downtown first. And we call that like the promenade. It's sort of the downtown. And we're coming, so right now we're putting in utilities. They'll be done next fall. And our developer partner, TPP, have proposed coming out of the ground next year with at least 4 buildings and the promenade itself. And the reason for that is because you can't just build one building or it will fail, right? You have to have sort of the there for this thing to succeed. And so the thought here is our first building is a 363 unit mixed use. It's a beautiful building. It has 45,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor plane, along with elevated dining. Across the street, we have an office, a small office building, some additional residential, and then a parking garage behind that. So you can't actually, it's screened very well, the parking is. And then as you go east on the promenade, at the end of the promenade, we are building an entertainment venue, a 5,000-seat entertainment venue. So the thought here is we have a bunch of activated ground floor retail and dining and this entertainment venue, which will bring people to the site.
Yeah, 5,000 seats. It's an indoor venue, kind of be geared really for concert-type shows and music, performances. It'll also be versatile and be able to be, used for sporting activities, events that people have indoors, volleyball, basketball.
TED Talks,
pickleball, whatever it might be. So, and I want to talk more about those buildings, but let's go back really quick to the phase one, the infrastructure construction, because when you talk about starting in the middle and talk about the type of infrastructure this is, although we've only got 100 acres out sort of for development in phase one, we didn't just build pipes that size phase one and then go bigger later. We went all in on the way in, if you will, right?
That's correct. So we refer to that as the backbone infrastructure that will the capacities will accommodate the full 600-acre build-out.
Yeah, and so part of that problem with that is the water tanks are bigger than you need today. The pipes are, bigger than you would need for just 100 acres. But smartly, we've gone in and planned it for the entire site. But it's a lot of infrastructure. The stormwater system is massive. The sewer system, massive. The road system, actually. If you take all that 600 acres, we're building brand new roads, main roads in, loop roads around, to make it so that this promenade can come out of the ground next year. So these roads are going in as we speak. We were just talking about a little bit offline about, we've even got blacktop down on one of them right now, right?
That's correct. On Porter Rockwell Boulevard from 6 West to what we refer to as the North Loop Road. Yeah.
So if you drive by it, and if you're driving, you can't really look very well, but if you're in the passenger seat, look out there and just take in the size of this project and then look at what's really already happened. People say to me, what's happening out there? When's anything going to happen? I'm like, oh, there's a lot of stuff happening. So let's go back to, in the phase one, we have 100 acres under that. How much of the 100 acres is really developable, like that can have buildings on it?
Boy, that's an answer I don't have off the top of my head, but let me tell you a little bit what's in phase one, if I could. Yeah. So I talked about the promenade. That's some open green space with some kind of pavilion-like buildings, maybe a cafe or something in those buildings. To the north, you'll have what we refer to as the central green. So that's about a 2-acre park. And then to the direct south of the promenade, we have what we call River to Range, and that's a linear park that will actually connect to Draper. It'll have a flyover I-15, connect to Draper, and the intent is to also connect it to the Jordan River Trail. This is a highly amenitized park. So the hope here is we're trying to elevate the quality of life on site, to bring people there, to want to live there, to want to work there. There's going to be a lot of office space. I believe there's 3 million square feet of office in the first phase.
That's a lot of office.
It's a lot of office.
We're opening a lot of companies. Go back to that River to Range trail, because that's been a big deal for me, because the trail system we have in Draper, we have a really good paved trail system. We have an outstanding mountain bike system. I mean, it's the best there is. But to connect the Jordan River Trail, which is also a very important trail system that really goes from Ogden to the Utah Lake. If you ride it, I mean, you can literally go from Ogden Central rail station all the way to Utah Lake on that trail. You ride a few different trails, but it's an amazing piece of infrastructure that is used by thousands and thousands of people every day. We're going to connect that trail to our Porter Rockwell Trail, which leaves Draper Park and goes around into Lehigh and ultimately down into Provo. And so we're going to give people that live in the point and work in the point, the ability at a lunch break to come across the freeway on a trail, get on either Port of Rockwell and have a nice paved trail experience, or get into Corner Canyon and mountain bike for your lunch hour, or just have it as an amenity to live in. You could live in a condo or an apartment in the point and have all the access to the amazing trails that we have here. I think that is really one of the cool things that we've got going there.
Yeah,
and that's going
I
in.
agree.
And that's going in first. I mean, that's coming in. That's not something we're going to do 10 years from now. That's coming in now.
Yeah, so in phase one, there's a portion of it that will come in. I believe it's a half a mile long. And right on the back end of this phase one, and you know this, Mayor, we are contemplating a 50-acre for sale housing development.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because I've been involved in this since it was Envision Utah looking at it, the Point Commission, and now the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority. We never really contemplated ever in any of this planning or any of this development selling any of this property, and especially selling it for individual owned residential housing. It was not part of our plan.
That's correct.
I never was. And I've been, as this has come up, it's taken me a little while to get my head around it. But I'm actually kind of excited about it now. So we'll talk about that for a minute. We're going to sell 50 acres.
Yeah, approximately 50 acres. And let me tell you how that came about, right? I mean, we're all familiar with the housing shortage.
Yes.
Right? Not only in Utah, but in America. So part of our mission is to create affordable housing. Now, I don't know exactly how to do that without subsidizing it, but anyway, so we do have these problems, these challenges as a state. I've met with legislative leadership and the executive branch several times, and it was kind of very apparent that if we were going to need additional funding for this project, we would need to sell some of the land to get some things done. And so I thought to myself, we could kind of kill two birds with one stone, right? We could add some stock to the housing shortage, and then we could also hopefully get some cash, some capital to finish some of the projects that we have going.
It's going to be interesting to have the ability to own maybe even a single family home, a townhome in the point. So fee simple, own it like you would anywhere else in the city, and then have all those point amenities, but actually own the real estate. So you're going to have a true mix. And we have a land consultant now who's advising us on that. And I'm actually pretty interested in his concepts about what we can do there. We're not talking, big giant condo buildings. We're talking some single family homes, some townhomes at a density level that's not massively dense, but yet at a level that we think might really be a sort of sweet spot for this type of market going forward.
Perfectly said.
I'm excited about it. I think it could be fantastic. So we have a meeting every month generally at the Point. We talk about moving this project along. We've been doing the infrastructure. We've been, the Point had to negotiate with Draper City, so I had to, I wear the hat as a member of the Point Commission and as the mayor of the city. But we negotiated because at the end of the day, the city of Draper will be in charge of the infrastructure. That includes roads, parks, the trails, stormwater, drinking water, all that kind of stuff. And that was a process that we, because there's so much going in at the beginning and trying to plan it and know what to do. But I'm happy to say we worked through the issues. We feel like we have really high quality infrastructure being installed. Frankly, it's not something we've taken lightly from either entity. But we've hurdled those things, and now we're looking to see phase one really start to come out. So in our meeting a couple of days ago on the 12th, we got a little bit of a taste of what is really going to come out. And there's 5 projects that are coming out of the ground in 2026.
That's correct.
And I'm telling you, I said it in the meeting, I haven't been as excited about this project since in years as I was on the 12th in our meeting, because I think as you see these buildings start to come out, right now you look at it and you think, or you just drive by it and you don't even notice it. You just, until you're like looking at it, you just think, But all of a sudden, in 2026, we're going to see 5 important buildings just start to come out. I think once it comes out, once the place gets made, we sell some ground, people can buy a house buy a townhome, live there, enjoy it. Talk a little bit about that. Talk a little about the retail and what we expect in the retail in the beginning and how it will work.
So yeah, like I mentioned that our first project is a 363 unit mixed use project. So that one building has 45,000 square feet of retail. I mean, think of how much retail that is, right?
That's a lot of retail.
It's a lot of retail. And I can't remember the exact number on how much retail will be just on the promenade alone, but I would imagine it to be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe even 150,000 square feet.
I was going to say 150,000 is what I remember the slide showing. And so, Draper citizens, if you think about the way we fund cities, and you can disagree with it or you can not like it, but it doesn't matter. This is how it is. We get a portion of our revenue from property tax, not that much, not even half. And then the lion's share of how we fund our city, and that means pay for cops, firefighters, parks, roads, everything we do in Draper City comes from sales tax, the lion's share. So are we motivated by business and commerce and sales tax? Yes, we are. I've been motivated by it ever since I got elected. In fact, it's one of the reasons I ran for office years and years ago as a council member. I wanted to make sure we had enough sales tax so that our property tax wouldn't go up here. So we have been able over the years to punch way above our weight in size of population in amount of sales tax collected. This is a big deal to us because we get our portion of the sales tax like we normally would anywhere else. And so 150,000 square feet of retail, it's a big deal for us.
It is a big deal. And what really complements that is that entertainment venue, right?
Yes.
They did an economic analysis as part of bringing that project online. And it was staggering how much sales tax that brought to the table and jobs.
Yes.
So it's a win-win for sure.
That entertainment venue is going to have a bunch of various uses to it too. It's amazing. And I'm kind of excited about how that got funded. That entertainment venue has been funded by a PID, a private infrastructure development tool. It's not state funded. It's not, there's no government handout to build this entertainment center.
That's correct. Yeah, a PID is a public infrastructure district.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into figuring out the finances of how that bond will be paid back. But we got there. We went to the market with it, and private investors purchased this bond. They gave us money for the bonding. So,
which is, it's a new tool the legislature's created to try and get infrastructure and things developed. And I'm excited about that because, again, this project, although the legislature has given us a seed money loan is $168 million to put in the infrastructure. We have to pay that back.
Yeah, the ground leases up front pay that back.
Right. But it's unique in that sense. It's not a handout. Like some people say these projects, the state's just giving out money. That's not the case at the point. At the point we have a loan, which we're going to pay back. We figured out this really awesome entertainment venue, and it's getting financed by that public infrastructure district where investors said, hey, we think this is a good buy. And we have enough money to build it. It's really exciting. So as we kind of go and close, the next steps are, what are we going to see next? Give me the next thing. You got some blacktop on this road. What's the next thing we're going to see?
Yeah, it's exciting because the infrastructure is kind of the first step, right? And then getting buildings going vertical is step 2. But now it's even kind of I want to call it phase 3, is to really start recruiting, corporate headquarters and anchor tenants. And that's what we're doing now. And I feel like we have some incredible opportunity that's coming our way.
And I'll tell you, we obviously can't necessarily talk about that just yet because the negotiations are going on. But I'm pretty excited. I mean, I think I've had this vision for this for a long time, and I've been pushing it since I was first elected as a council member. And I really feel like it's about ready to start coming out of the ground, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, in the next 5 years, I think everybody is going to be pleasantly surprised.
And the good news is too, this isn't this whole 600 acres isn't getting developed in the next 5 years, but it's a long-term project. But as the core, the downtown, the promenade, the trail system, the park, as it starts to come together with the new home ownership that'll be there, It's going to be cool.
It's going to be incredible. So when you build this elevated downtown with the retail and dining experience and entertainment, that's what these corporate headquarters want for their employees. They want this lifestyle, this easy, we call it, work, live, play, right? And that's what we're trying to create. And also, I just want to mention real quick, we do have these hefty legislative mandates, right, on sustainability, elevated quality of life, higher paying jobs, connectedness through trail systems,
quality of development,
all of it, right?
And last, before we close, I know we're close, but I don't want to leave this out there, because one thing everybody says about every development that ever happens, the number one complaint or the number one reason we shouldn't do it, or the big issue we're going to is traffic, right?
Yeah,
it's always traffic. And I went to Hoboken, New Jersey last year on a trip with Wasatch Front, and I was astounded by the traffic. And by the way, in those cities where they have it's all walkable and all that, they got just as many cars as we got, let me tell you, if not more. I mean, I was like, oh, come on, there's cars everywhere. We're going to have traffic as long as people drive. But what we're doing about traffic for the point, we have nice roads coming through that are going to be able to let you access it by vehicle, because we know most people drive. We also have a new front runner station that's going to connect directly to the Point project. And then inside the Point project, light rail is going to come and originate inside the Point. So you'll be able to ride front runner to the Point, get on light rail, ultimately come across the freeway and south into Lehigh and Utah County on light rail. So we're not leaving that out. That is also part of what's going to make this work.
And I might just add, we also have a dedicated circulator. And the thought there is, hopefully when autonomous vehicles come online, we have created a circulator that goes around our site and stops at kiosks, and you can have a mobile app to get one of these rides around the site.
We even had this air mobility presentation this week at our meeting that, if it really comes away, like it says, it's kind of Jetsons level stuff. It'd be kind of cool. Well, Mike, thanks for coming in, and folks, just understand that this is a huge project. It's taken a long time to get it to this level, and it's now about ready to really move forward. So, Mike, thank you for all your work and time and your effort and your skills and the way you're doing it. We're really fortunate to have you, and we're excited for the future. So
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
For timely information about Draper City news, events, traffic alerts, and public safety emergencies, you may subscribe to email or text notifications from Draper City by visiting draperutah.gov/notify, or follow us on social media at Draper City, Utah on Facebook, at Draper City on Instagram and X, and at Draper City Gov on YouTube. This has been Draper City Talk. Please join us again.